Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's work on the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter of the Order of Truth Watchers.
Also joining me is Evgeni.
Hi, they call me Argent, and I couldn't decide between Else Colors and Stone Wards, so I am of the Else Wards.
I thought you'd go with Else Color so you could get closer to Yasna.
That is a main reason I would go for Else Colors, yes.
I feel like that's very dangerous because she would literally just soul cast you into Crystal.
Yeah. Hey, she's my bae. If I'm her bae, there's no cause for concern.
I doubt she will be your bae. Or you will be her bae.
Maybe that's why she's still alone, because she hasn't met Argent. That's
right.
What a tragedy.
She's saving herself.
I find this unlikely. Also joining me is Grace.
Hello, I'm thegatorgirl, also from the Order of Truth Watchers.
Oh. And lastly, we have David.
Hi, I'm Windrunner in the forums, and I am of the order of, you guessed it, Edge Dancers.
Hey.
That's what you get for picking a forum name too early. No.
It's like, Way of Kings time. I know about Windrunners. Great.
That's what it is.
And I'm Eric, Chaos on the forums, and I guess I'm of the Order of Bondsmiths because Grace told me I am. So, great.
I'm a Truth Watcher. I see you were a bondsmith.
Okay, great. Cool.
Hey.
We are going to be talking about the Orders of the Knights Radiant. We are going to talk about all about them, their surges, their oaths, and all sorts of things. And we're just going to say straight up here that this is not going to be a single episode. We know ourselves at this point. There is no way we are going to get through 10 orders and blab in 90 minutes. That's just not the case. In fact, part of me thinks that maybe if we get through 3 orders and it gets to the 90-minute mark, it might be 3 episodes, but we'll not record all 3 today. But that is a distinct possibility here, is what I'm saying. But it is more than 1 episode. So, what are the Knights Radiant? How do they get their powers?
They get their power from Spren.
Yes.
The Knights Radiant are an organization of surge binders on Roshar.
Don't you mean Spren surge binders?
Yes, I do mean Spren surge binders. But though I guess technically there are... No.
I'm glad we made it a full minute.
Technically part of their orders, except for...
So this comes from
it would be Spren surge binders.
This comes from a joke where I said that the honor blades make surge binders, and then Ian's like Spren surge binders. I'm like, cool.
That's not what I said.
You corrected something to Spren surge binders, and yeah.
Yes, and you got annoyed, even though I was right.
I did get annoyed. And each order gets 2 surges, and each one shares a surge with the other. So, like, Bondsmiths both have it, and Windrunner both have adhesion, for example.
And they kind of leapfrog.
Hey, you know it'd be good if I put the Radiant chart on the screen? That'd probably be
Yes,
really
it
intelligent. Would. Let's do that. That
would
that's
be very useful.
That's probably a thing that I should put on the screen, huh? So each order has a Spren. The Spren becomes Shardblades. Spoilers. If you haven't read things.
Words of Radiance.
For Words of Radiance. It's very cool. Good book. Like it. It's pretty good. I've always found it interesting that Radiants only get 2 surges.
Yes.
Because with Allomancers, it goes Mistborn, all powers, misting, 1 power. And this is not like that at all.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think that Brandon kind of like saw how OP the Mistborn were, and that's why we don't see so many Mistborn anymore. And so
I mean,
part of the decision in Stormlight was probably like, we don't want to have people that are a little too OP for the situations that they are in.
Yeah. So there's really 2 answers to this. There's the in-world and the out-of-world.
Mm-hmm.
And like the in-world answer is because the Knights Radiant are modeled after the Heralds, and Honor specifically made the Heralds that way. with only 2 powers.
I
But-
think that makes even less sense than like I mean
I'm-
the Radiant or the Surge Binders mimicking the other blades. Yes, that's fine. We know that's the case. It makes sense.
Yep.
I don't understand why Honor would make his heralds.
You
fall
can
to state.
only get 2 powers, and that is how it must be. Like,
Brandon
sure,
has
Honor.
said that those pairs of surges are natural. So it's
Of
like they
course.
naturally go together in that way.
Sure they do, Brandon.
Cosmere is weird, yo. Like,
and so the out of world explanation, Ian, are you going with because Brandon wanted them to have 2 powers, and because he thought that would be
Yes.
cool that way?
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because trying to think back to what we know about Way of Kings Prime and Surge Binding and that, because
Not much.
not much, but we know that every order had access to a more
Way
limited
of-
form of soul
Just-
casting.
Yes.
No.
Mhm.
Well, wait.
Yep.
There weren't Knights
Yeah.
Radiant in Way of King's Prime.
There were
No.
people who
There,
used
there
magic.
there were no
and-
Spren, but
there
there
were no
were
Spren, but there were
Knights Radiant
Surge
as
Binders.
things.
Yeah.
See, I just remember to the San Francisco signing when he was doing his narration, and he just said, "There's no Spren, there's no Knights Radiant," and he was listing a bunch of things, and the whole crowd laughed and was like, Brandon just said, "Yeah, so you might be wondering, what's left in the books?" Like, he specifically said there weren't any Knights. There were Shard Bearers.
Whatever the
There-
precursor to Surge Binding was.
Okay, yeah, sure.
There were
Yeah,
not.
Yeah.
there were like 10 orders of that,
Yeah.
and
okay.
each order could soul cast into their associated
Mhm.
essence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've
Oh,
seen
okay.
on Brandon's blog there were those very early sketches.
Oh, no, you're
of
right, you're
him
right, you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
writing
Why
it
the
out.
crap did Brandon say there's no Knights Radiant then? Sorry, Brandon's confusing
Because probably
me.
there weren't any Knights Radiant. There were other things.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. He's got to get the crowd excited too.
Yeah, that's
More
also
exciting.
okay.
More
That is-
exciting than
that is true.
there were slightly different Surge Binding in.
Well,
Wait.
to be fair, it isn't really the same when there's no Spren. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's kind of an important distinction and world element for this series.
hmm
Like Spren, yes, that's a thing.
Yeah, and like the powers were seemingly different. Like where Kaladin was seeing,
Yeah.
or Marin was seeing the wind. Like it doesn't seem like it was a similar thing from what we have seen.
Way
in
of
the
King's
samples.
Prime is very different, of course.
But
yes.
I'm gonna steer us back onto this Y2 Surges thing,
Yes.
and I will provide an alternative explanation.
Okay.
Symmetry, kind of a big deal.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And if you know that you have 10 fundamental forces, you can design this system to have each order have any number of powers, right? So Brandon could have done 3 powers per order, where
Right.
2 overlap on each rotation of the circle.
Yep.
Or you can have each order have 1 power and they're all unique.
Yep.
2 is kind of if you go 3 or more, you end up in a situation where every 2 adjacent orders are more similar than they're different.
Right. Yeah.
So if you do like 5, then 80% of the power set overlaps between any 2 adjacent orders. If you go 1, then obviously you have no overlap because every order is completely distinct.
Right.
And so 2 is, it's kind of an okay, they are
Balance.
similar, but they're also different.
There's relationships between the Radiants, but every order will feel distinct enough.
Yeah, and
You know.
for like another like metatextual reason, like Brandon does not enjoy overwhelming people with abilities, and so I think he wouldn't want to give Surge Binders 5 searches and have to explain all of that.
Oh, right,
really
yeah.
quick.
Yeah,
This is
and it's also
not sure.
Sanderson. Yeah, it's also Sanderson's second law. Limitations are more interesting than powers.
Right. So limited powers, and then these are all the things that you can't do.
And so I wanted to tie that back into Honor and his heralds, where because of symmetry.
Sure. Maybe Honor gave them abilities that suited the herald or something, and they're distinct enough that it's like, yes, you would be very adept with these, or maybe
that is a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see, for example, Taln as the bodyguard.
right. Right.
It makes sense to give him very like combat-y abilities.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Ishar as kind of the spiritual leader of the heralds.
Right, more spiritual.
Makes sense to give him kind of these esoteric powers, and Jezrien was the secular leader of the heralds, but also a warrior, and so he's got these warrior-y abilities, but also, hey, he can go from one end of the kingdom to the other very, very quickly. Jezrien doesn't fit the other two as neatly, as I realized halfway through my explanation.
And the thing is that, like, so many of the female heralds we know very little about.
Yeah.
As I think we've mentioned on the podcast many times, like, what the crap's going on with Vettel and all these.
Really hoping to see some Chana.
Yes.
Like a mad berserker type thing.
Oh man. Well, we'll get there. We can talk about the associated heralds with the orders, because what other show are we going to be like, let's go around the chart and talk about what's going on? That's this show. Right? Like, that's this one.
Yep.
Right?
And I mean, we did exactly the same thing for the heralds episode.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we did. Well, yeah, I guess we kind of did, but yeah. So, should we just get into talking about Windrunners?
Yeah.
I think so.
All right,
Are we
Windy,
done?
how are you doing? Tell us about yourself.
Yes.
Oh, I'm doing pretty. I've been better.
Can you tell us about your fourth and fifth
really
oath?
cold. Well, the fourth oath is accepting that I cannot protect everyone. Calling it now, as everyone else has. But
yeah, I mean that's pretty clear. And Kaladin, just at the end of Oathbringer, just can't do that.
He was not at that point.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But let's see. For the Windrunners, their two surges are Adhesion, which is kind of a lame surge, but I think it could end up being cooler later. We're going to see. And Gravitation. Adhesion allows them to, on a simple level, just stick things together with what is technically atmospheric pressure. And Gravitation allows them to twist the gravitational spiritual bond with Rashar and then make that stronger to do either the basic lashing or the reverse lashing.
God, I forgot how weird Gravitation is as a surge. It's like, oh, right. Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
That's why Sigzil's so confused in Oathbringer. But
as he should be, because it's just weird.
Yeah,
magic.
Mathematically speaking, it doesn't totally make sense, but from a storytelling, like, it needed to be that way. Otherwise, not mathy people would be confused.
And also the real reason is that Brandon wanted the Windrunners to fly, and so we're just doing this way rather than just generic flight. Which this is definitely much cooler than generic.
No, gravity is cool. It's I think the bit that Brandon had to find justification for is why half lashing downwards leads to weightlessness.
Half flashing upwards.
Upwards, yeah. No, I was obviously just assuming a frame of reference where you're stuck to the ceiling and like you want to.
Yes.
The Lopen perspective, yeah.
That's what the new order of Windrunners will have in their textbooks. It's the Lopen perspective.
Yeah.
It's right in there.
Lopen is going to be the one to write it. Yeah, that's natural.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be a textbook with Sigzil and Lopen. That's what it'll be. Doesn't that sound fun?
I can't wait.
My brain just very slowly processed that and said no. Moving on.
Look, to be fair, I would totally read a textbook with two authors arguing with each other, and that's just in the textbook. That sounds amazing.
That's basically the textbook version. Like if Allomancer Jack and Handerwin tried to write a textbook.
That would be great. That would be pretty great.
Yeah.
Passive aggressive footnotes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and I should say that the resonance for the Windrunners, which is the additional power that where they like mix the two surges together more or less to get something
new,
distinct is strength of squires, which means that they get extra squires that are extra strong.
+1 to squires.
That'll be in the Stormlight RPG one day.
+1 to squires.
It actually will be, yeah.
Which is a pretty lame one, I would say.
I mean, it can be. I'm kind of with Ian on this, as we briefly talked in the pre-show.
Yes.
It's helpful to have, 40, 50 people.
A lot of squires in a militaristic organization. Yeah, it's useful.
And like it gives the Radiants a group to lead.
Oh right, yeah, I get, they're all about the leading and protect and protect.
The resonants aren't supposed to be these like awesome magical powers. They're just like perks. Like, okay, you're slightly better at this.
Yeah.
Like, they're not game changer powers.
Except when you summon a perpendicularity.
That is not their resonance.
Except when you can deflect bullets.
That is a pretty good one.
With the power of
So gravitation pulls things like towards you, and adhesion sticks things together. So it makes sense that the Windrunner residents, he would be able to pull people towards him and like have them stick together as a group.
Yep. No, I mean,
I honestly do agree. Like, I think he tries for some thematic stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's all right. That's fair. I'll buy that. That is a better explanation than I've heard before, so I'll buy it.
Though I do feel sorry for Yezrian because he also gets this resonance, but heralds don't get squires, so it has no effect on him.
Yep,
He's got enough leading to do.
Right.
Yezrian just has a group of fangirls following him around instead.
That is true. I have seen them. I have joined them. It's like the Revel.
Oh. Which circle?
Which circle?
All of them. But this touches on kind of a theory that I saw a while back. In fact, by a couple of different people, I think, on the forums, that tried to explain the abilities of the Knights Radiant, or the Surgebinders, I guess, and their resonances in the context of kind of, so not looking at just the surges as they are presented to us in the physical realm, but also expounding on that and applying these realmatic surges.
Sure.
And so Grace's explanation of the Windrunners kind of like, yeah, they're not physically pulling other people together unless they want to. They are, it's more of the I guess the spiritual
gravitation.
Yeah.
Everything's
Essentially.
But
essentially. And then you look at, we're going to talk about the Light Weavers later on, and Shallan's ability to seemingly transform herself and transform those around her, which is the spiritualish transformation or illumination, where you illuminate the truth in other people, and so you see them for who they are, or for who they could be, and things like that.
Yeah, and I think this realmatic way of thinking about surges is reasonable, because as we saw with bondsmiths, even though bondsmiths have adhesion, bondsmiths kind of do it a little differently than Windrunners. Kind of like a lot.
Yeah.
Similar but very different.
Well, he can do regular like sticking stuff too. Dalinar just gets 2 powers, which is kind of, it's cool for him.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to me that you'd get the same surge, but you can use it differently. And bondsmiths, all right, spiritually stuff, and
slightly different.
Okay,
bondsmiths are,
get back on Windrunners, not bondsmiths. That's next episode.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. What I will kind of say though is, if we're talking about adhesion, I think like the Windrunner flavor has a little, like, there are like more applications that I think we haven't really like seen a lot yet. Like Kaladin kind of talks about how he knows he can make it so people can hear him when he's flying around, like over the sound of the wind, when he does that whole little division of the storm when it's coming at him. And I think
Yeah,
and I kind of anticipate like it gives him a little more finer control in the air than you might see with the Skybreaker later when he's experimented with it a little more.
And I think Brandon has said that with adhesion and gravitation, theoretically a Windrunner could fly into space.
Yep.
Yes.
Like a bubble of air around them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how Shardplate would be a great suit of a great space suit. Yep.
Not only very functional, but also looking top notch.
That's Stormlight 6 though, when Cal needs to go to Ashen to get some help.
I'll just fly there. Easy.
I won't go into Shadesmar. That wouldn't be faster.
Look, the fuse are blocking off the perpendicularities. All we can do.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll just. This would be really funny that every Stormlight book from now on, Kaladin goes on his little mission and needs to join up with the main group, and then later it's just like, yeah, I'm gone for a whole book. That won't get people upset. Flying to Ashen.
Can you imagine a book without Kaladin?
Oh, I mean, I would be upset.
And in the process of flight, he finds a herd or a school of space whales.
Yeah.
And he essentially adopts them like he does with any other group.
That's right. They're space whale slaves, and he has to rebel against their space whale masters. And the space whale masters are the force that's Aiden Alcium's opposition, and so we get foreshadowing for that too. Yeah. So we don't skip Kaladin in the book. He's just in one part, in space. Kaladin in space.
He's the interlude through line.
To be fair, though, we could see our main characters become interlude through lines in the back five.
I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah, or he could just die and we'll have multiple books without him. Anyway.
Sure, for that.
Let's stay on a positive note. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just imagining... No, stop staring this on track, good sir. I wanted to talk about Kaladin riding a space whale in his shard plate.
You know it's bad when Argent is the one trying to keep us on topic.
It is pretty bad. It is pretty bad. I like the idea of adhesion being a lot more useful. I totally forgot that he could use that.
That it's completely useless.
You don't think Windrunners need magical superglue all the time?
That does seem very specific.
Especially for people who are flying all the time. Like, he's got nothing to stick them to except for each other, I guess. You know, like, there's nothing to do.
Maybe you would. Maybe it's like
build a giant ball of
Katamari Damacy. You're like, okay, I'm flying to the other side. I'm just gonna stick everyone to me. They do kind of do that, but
it's a big fuse
I guess they
hug.
just all lashed them together.
They did
when they on the mission.
Yeah.
Though there is this idea with the Radiants, and we'll talk about with the Skybreakers, that you kind of get a second surge later, or more control over it. I know with Kaladin we've seen that they have access to both surges, but maybe we'll see more adhesion with the later oaths, right?
There's a wob on the topic, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. And it's mostly for storytelling purposes on Brandon's part.
Right.
Whereas, like, you don't throw people into the deep end. It's like, okay, I'll start the readers off with this one power, and then we'll get to this other power later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remembered it was mostly thematic. I wasn't sure if there was like an in-world reason for that to happen.
I didn't think there was. I thought it was more of that meta reason.
Although I could imagine some Spren going, "Hey, this is a lot for you. We'll start you off with let's work on this surge, and then as you become better and stronger, or maybe some surges just naturally require more power, right? So soul casting,
for sure,
example. Well, I guess some forms of soul casting are very investiture intensive.
Yeah,
I think soul casting is very complex.
Yeah,
that's
the big one.
Soul casting is like one of the first things Shallan does, but she really learns in the illumination first.
Yeah.
So it's like it probably has some more to do with the individual Surge Binder, what is easiest for them. It's like they just
true.
naturally tend towards that power first.
Sure.
Unless you're a Skybreaker. They very specifically seem to get division second.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
What else do we want to talk about with Windrunners? Do we want to hypothesize about a fifth oath, maybe?
I've got, like, just on the subject of oaths, I think one thing that I've noticed that I wanted to see what you guys thought about is, like, we know that the the divine attributes from the whole Ars Arcanum table are more cultural than they are literal.
Yep.
Right.
But I think, especially early on, there was a sentiment that Kaladin's later oaths would have more to do with leadership than protecting,
right.
which is still like a big theme for his character. And
Yeah.
if we're right about what the fourth oath is, that's not really coming through. So I was wondering if you guys think we're going to see some oaths about like leadership, or if he's just going to like stick with the protecting theme, and that was mostly just like a cultural thing.
Yeah, it's I think they are a cultural thing, but they have a real purpose.
Yeah.
Like they're based on something real.
Yeah, yeah, I would say
Because
so.
it's like they're based off of like the Radiant, not the Radiants, the Heralds.
The
And
Heralds.
it's like Yezrian was a protecting leader. It is like that exemplified his characters.
Like the archetype for the Windrunners.
Yeah, like that. Those divine attributes help define the archetype for each order, but within that order, there's infinite variation.
Do you know when Kaladin's going to swear his oath about leadership? When he's helping his space whale friends?
Moving on.
I can lead anyone or anything.
So
yes, exactly.
Save us.
I think with the fifth oaths in general, we're kind of moving towards an understanding that the quality that initially attracted the Spren isn't like this perfect, you should always do it. So for the Windrunners, for example, what attracted Syl to Kaladin is he protected everyone. That's what he always tried to do. And now we're seeing him move towards, I can't protect everyone. Kind of jumping ahead with the Lightweavers, what initially attracts the Cryptics is lies. And they achieve the fifth ideal by saying truths. And even kind of with the Skybreakers, it's like this kind of following a code of their own, like this code to perfection and never breaking it. And then they sort of become the law, which we obviously don't know exactly what that means, but it seems to sort of imply they can make their own decisions about, what the code is.
Sure.
So you think the fifth one is going to be kind of not opposite, but going in a different direction than the previous?
I think it's, if I understand what Grace is saying, it's more like transcending it.
Yes.
Or like a deeper understanding that you can't single-mindedly follow one specific.
Yes, that's kind of that's what I think in general. I mean, obviously there's variation, but I think that's sort of in general where the oaths sort of take you.
I could definitely see that.
And it's probably, most Radiants were probably only ever got to the fourth ideal. It's like that fifth ideal really.
That's an interesting point. Maybe.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
the fifth one does seem like a challenging one, especially considering how few Skybreakers have reached it.
Yeah, Nale is the only one
at the moment. Yeah,
I think there are shenanigans where Nale is not allowing people to progress because they're concerned about what the deeper levels of surge binding will allow without honor being around, is my personal belief. I don't think that. I think there were far more fifth level Radiants than Nale would lead us to believe.
But
definitely there were definitely a ton of them, but like relatively fewer.
I just don't know if I would say most people don't.
Radiant would make it to the fifth zone.
Not every, but I just don't know if I would say that most don't.
Yeah, I like the idea that not every Radiant needs to fully progress to like that. It's fine if they don't. And I mean, obviously, we see that the fourth ideal. Well, not every order plate is fourth ideal necessarily. There's a lot of individual aspect and differences between orders. So at a certain level where you get plate, and that seems pretty attainable for those knights. But maybe the fifth one, you know, when they swear that last ideal, maybe something else is going to happen that, you know, we don't know. It's not, oh, this is the Shardblade one, this is the Shardplate one. Well, what's the last one going to do? Like, it could be really crazy in some sense.
And
Well,
the other, go ahead, Grace.
well, we do know that Nodum said until the fifth ideal is sworn, the bond can't. There are ways to break the bond, but once that last ideal is sworn, there's nothing you can do.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I would say though about the whole fifth, you know, like who makes it to the fifth and who doesn't, is if I'm recalling correctly, at one point Kaladin kind of says to Syl, okay, like she wants him to move on with the next oath. I think it's Words of Radiance where he's like being all angsty. Yep. And he's like, well, what if I don't keep moving? And she's like, you need to continue progressing or the bond will fade.
Oh, that's a good point. So maybe
it's different for the last one where you get far enough, but I think, or maybe she was just lying to him because she wanted him to keep swearing oaths. But
it's like,
she's not a big liar.
I want to read that line.
Oh, same. But that just like popped into my head right now out of the depths of my brain. So
that's a really good point. That could be a factor that in the second ideal for Windrunners, the bond is not strong enough for, say, Kaladin to summon Syl into the physical as a Shardblade, right? So it's not that strong of an oath. And with more oaths, that bond becomes stronger, right?
I could definitely see it being strong enough.
Yeah.
And so maybe after a certain point, it's like pretty stable. But I feel like the Spren would still push their Radiant along that path. But
that's probably reasonable, yeah.
It's an interesting thing to think about, like that the fifth one will be very difficult, presumably. It will. You're the full Radiant. You have gone through your whole journey and you understand what protecting means, you know? Because all of the oaths kind of qualify that first unique one and the second one. So, oh, okay, Kaladin's protecting. Oh, you have to protect people even if you hate them. So, right, I needed to realize that. And, oh, you're probably not going to be able to protect everyone. And that's fine. Yes, Ian?
Okay. I don't know if this is the one you're thinking of.
Is it the progress one? I'm looking at it right now, too.
Well, it's in... Which chapter is this?
5 of Words of Radiance.
Yes. Yeah.
The words, David. Say the words.
Let's see. He had only an inkling of what it meant, but his ignorance couldn't stop him from figuring out the second ideal of the Windrunners, the oath to protect those who could not protect themselves. Syl wouldn't tell him the other 3. She said he would know them when he needed to, or he wouldn't and would not progress. I don't think that's the one I was thinking of, but it's entirely possible I'm misremembering. So I'll have to.
Yeah.
If I find it later, we can put it in like the podcast notes if people are interested.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, or a comment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to take us back to the divine attributes real quick.
Yep.
And I guess because we don't have like a very structured outline for this. We are kind of using the Windrunners as a template for, oh well, here are all the things we should be talking about.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then
we just
we're jumping onto bigger like Radiant things that don't necessarily apply specifically to the Windrunners, right?
We decided that we don't need a super outline podcast, and we could probably blab about these for a while.
No. But so going back to the divine attributes I think we can all agree that they were most likely big attributes for the heralds, and that's how they later on became known as the divine attributes, right? They were not surge binding things first. They were herald thing first.
Yes.
Yeah, and
so
yeah.
But now obviously there is a strong connection between the divine attributes and the orders of the Knights Radiant and the type of people that join those orders. And so it seems plausible to me that when the Spren were first imitating the Honor Blades, they were imitating not only the Honor Blades, they were in a way also imitating the Heralds. Or at least when they decided to first look for people to bond with, they were looking for people who in turn were similar to the heralds. So
definitely.
The honor Spren would look for somebody who is like Jezrien.
Yeah.
I think you'd almost have to, because then they wouldn't want to swear those oaths if they weren't ideologically aligned with them.
I think the natural progression then would be that when the structure was imposed on the Knights was imposed on the Surgebinders to have them be Knights Radiant, that they kind of codified that very specifically about these ideals.
They being the Knights?
The Heralds. When Ishar did whatever he needed to do to make those like oaths more binding and to have this oathiness be a thing and for them to formally be knights, that they just took the progression of heralds in some respects or those attributes and put that just codified in there.
It depends on if you are a fan of the idea that Surge binding was some way tinkered with when the Night Radiants were founded, or if you think that it was literally just an organization that was put together. I kind of don't understand why they wouldn't already hang out in groups with the same powers that had the same opinions about things before the Surge binding or before the Radiants. But
there's a difference between a loose organization and a codified order of knights.
Yeah.
But they all had, I don't know, like, I feel like some didn't really end up with that structure from what we've heard. Like, some, like the Windrunners have it, but I don't know that all of them even necessarily had that.
The structure is different for every order, but there is a structure. Like, with the Windrunners, it's a very, like, regimented, militaristic organization, but the Lightweavers was probably still organized, but just not in the same way.
Yeah.
I just don't think I got the sense that some are, like, basically unorganized, or, like, very unorganized.
I mean, Lightweavers, right?
Yeah.
But you were not on... Eric, I don't know which episode we talked about this. I think it was Plate, which at the time of this recording has not aired yet.
Yeah,
is it?
Well, sorry. I misheard what you said. Yes. It as of this recording, it has not aired yet. Yeah, correct.
No, but it will be.
Yes.
So, shame on you, David, for not having seen that yet.
For not having listened in.
If only you had spiritual adhesion.
Right? Where spiritual realms, time and space, don't matter.
Yeah, sure. Spiritual whatever. Spiritual gravitation. The podcast gravitated into your brain.
No, spiritual illumination, because you need eyes to see.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Eyes to see the
But in that episode, we talked briefly about, or will have talked briefly about, or have will talked about how Ishar's actions in codifying that, or like imposing order upon the Knights Radiant, seems to have also introduced this oath-based system, where before that happened, we speculated that all of the Surgebinders, because there was no knights at the time, prior to that, they were all at maybe 3rd level. So Spren mimic the heralds. What do the heralds have? They have honor blades. They don't have honor plate. And so what the Spren imitate is they imitate the weapons, the swords. And so I don't know if we agreed, but we talked about the Surgebinders being on a kind of a blade level before Ishar does his thing. And then when he does his thing, the structure that he imposes on all the Surgebinders allows them this progression of, you have access to Stormlight, you have access to Surges, you get Blade, you become more powerful, you get Plate, you unlock the greater power of the Surges or something.
That's definitely how my mind works on it as well.
Yeah, we we thought that, or at least I think we thought that he may have done some tinkering with Surge Binding as a system.
So
I just don't understand how Ishar could actually have that kind of effect.
I agree with that point. I totally agree.
Perhaps he's like, oh, it should work like this, and went to Honor and it's like, make these changes, and then Honor made them. I'm more inclined to believe that.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. I'm just gonna read the thing from the in-world words of Radiance, which kind of talks about this. But as for Ishi Elin, his was the part most important at their inception. He readily understood the implications of surges being granted to men and caused organization to be thrust upon them. As having too great power, he let it be known that he would destroy each and every one unless they agreed to be bound by precepts and laws. And the only laws and precepts that I can think of are the oaths, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
I think that's what this is referring to.
Yeah, I just don't think that sounds like he set up like a Windrunner city council, you know?
I don't agree. I think he set up the oaths, and Windrunners more culturally were like, hey, we're more of a
military guys,
military organization, and Lightweavers is like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Well,
we don't need to do that.
Before that, like, it was really every Searchbinder for themselves. Like, they were warlords, they were like whatever. And after that point, it's like we got the Order of Windrunners. And
I mean, it's all connected with Erytheru, and the Spren are kind of like, hey, you should go there. It's pretty great.
Yeah. They definitely like also did the cultural thing where they founded orders and put the organizations together at that point as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
But the new organizations are going to be different than the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I think when I was reading Words of Radiance for the first time, it was my not understanding, but kind of implicit belief that it was actual like laws and precepts that Ishi-Yalin had imposed upon, but that doesn't make sense when I think about it, right? Like the Radiants are not bound by these like UN global laws.
The things they are bound by are the oaths. That is the thing. That is their thing.
Yeah. So I am strongly in favor of the oath system being introduced as a result of that.
Well, yes, mechanically the only thing they're bound by is the oaths, but that's because like that was also the start of the Silver Kingdoms, so I could see them being bound by like UN style organization as part of this Silver Kingdoms alliance. It's okay, this is how the Knights Radiant fit into this.
Was that for sure the same time when the Silver Kingdoms were founded? Because I know the Heralds did it, but I don't know that we know that they were simultaneous.
No.
I don't think we know for sure when the Silver Kingdoms were founded.
Our Rashar history expert, Grace? Do you know? Because if anyone does.
We talked about this. This is a different episode.
Oh, true.
Yeah. We literally talked about this.
Okay, then we can move on.
And both episodes are now out.
Both episodes are now out. And
but I haven't watched them yet, so I don't know what you decided.
Oh yeah, you weren't on those.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
I was going to say, I do think it makes sense that whatever Ishar did, Honor had a hand, because isn't Nale the one who says, without Honor, like, here to check our powers, these, like, are dangerous?
That's true. So it's got to be some honory stuff. Also, Honor making people swear some oaths, I don't think that was a tough sell.
I like that.
Real.
Yeah.
Listen here. Yeah.
Like that is hey, Honor, these guys are gonna destroy crap. We should have them swear some oaths. Honor's
Done.
like, I got you covered. Let's do it.
These words are accepted.
If you don't agree to it, then Ishar's gonna murder everyone. Also, just a note, Ishar saying he will destroy each of them. That just kind of reminds me a bit of that Tesm-ness that we see of him.
Oh, good point.
It's almost like they're the same person.
It's like they're the same person,
Yeah, it's like they didn't turn into something they're not. They just...
No.
Certain parts of their personality were magnified in negative ways.
Yeah. Anything else on Windrunners?
Honestly, not that I can think of. I think we did a pretty...
I think we did a thorough job.
Overly thorough, perhaps.
They're associated with sapphires and like clear gases.
What's their body focus?
Number one,
inhalation. I think
the gemstone sapphire. Their essence is Zephyr. Body focus is inhalation, and soul casting properties are translucent gas and air.
Are you just imagining like a quick YouTube video of here are the Windrunners, and then like with their body focus is this, their gemstone is this, and
like the Night Radiant orientation video.
The Night Radiant orientation video. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's important to note that a lot of these things are just like cultural associations.
Yeah.
I wonder why the Windrunners would be associated with sapphires. I could never guess.
Because they glow blue.
Because they glow blue. Yes.
Yeah, it is interesting to me that the different orders glow differently and their blades glow in that matching color. Like, because we get both the eyes, and obviously we can make up eyes or window to the soul type of thing. And then we can talk about souls in the spiritual realm and how the Windrunner's soul is like spirit web is colored blue.
For a minute, I thought you said the eyes are the window to their soul. I'm like, wait, what? wait.
Also true, but
yes. But there's definitely like some basis to the cultural stuff. When you see like the Windrunner and the Skybreaker glyphs like literally appearing in midair, you're like, okay, so maybe there's something to these glyphs here, you know?
Let's talk about Skybreakers. Skybreakers, they have gravitation and division, and they are very structured. Very structured.
Very.
And unlike Syl, as we said earlier, where Syl's not going to tell Kaladin what the later words are, Nale's like, yeah, I'll just tell you what they all are.
They all just get like a pamphlet.
Yeah.
With like how to be, or Skybreaker in 5 easy steps.
To be fair, Nale is not a Spren. I don't think we've seen a Spren tell their like who they're bonded to, what the later oaths are. But we have seen later members, like higher level members, tell other people what the oaths are.
Zeth's high Spren is weird, and we're gonna do a full episode on that sometime. Because that is super weird.
I want to talk about that. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
put your name on the list, David, for that one.
It may be that all high Spren are weird, not just...
Or maybe Nale's finicking.
Okay, so, I mean, if you were a Spren, and the person you were bonded to wields night blood, which consumes investiture that you are made of, I would probably not want to be close either.
Yeah.
We're gonna be bonds in word only, which is fine because we're about laws. So I will just do the letter of the law, and that's it. And I don't want to talk to you otherwise.
It's one of those situations where Zeth and his friend are in bed together, but there is a literal sword in between them.
I just think that his friend is like socially awkward, doesn't really know how to introduce itself, and it's like,
yeah.
Well,
he's hanging around.
with Skybreakers, it's different because this is the only order that never betrayed their oaths.
True.
And
That's
so
true.
these other ones where Syl's, I'm the first one, and so we have to do these specific things you wouldn't know. And then Skybreaker's like, yeah, no, we'll just tell you what's up. Yeah, that's fine. It's not a problem.
That's an interesting point. Have we previously discussed why we think the Skybreakers did not disband in a podcast I haven't heard?
Because they don't like breaking oaths because they're about rules.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty
they
simple.
are just, and it's like they swear themselves to laws that, like, it makes sense that they didn't break.
It would be very interesting to see a Skybreaker, to see Skybreakers worry about laws, and it's like, oh, I can't follow that law and thing.
The crosswalk's 100 feet that direction, but I can't jaywalk or I'll kill my friend.
Yeah, right. Well,
I'll just fly over the road. That'll solve the problem.
So, Alex, our resident Skybreaker, 100%. I distinctly remember a time where she's just in a parking lot in her car, waiting literally multiple hours for a friend to meet her. And she's like, well, I said that I would meet them there. And so she literally waited there for like 2 hours. And then I just told her, you are such a Skybreaker. Because she said, I'm meeting this friend, and that is what I'm going to do. And she just stayed there.
That's
crazy? Yes, I know. I told her. Don't worry.
No, I was going to say, that's what you do when you say you're going to meet a friend.
You wait for them for 2 hours, and they never say anything to you?
Yeah,
that they were going to be late? No, you do not do that. That is dumb as hell, and that is disrespectful of your time. You do not. You wait there for 2 hours for a friend to meet you?
Lot?
Yeah, no.
I mean, I haven't gone 2 hours, but
yeah, no, right. 30 minutes, fine. 2 hours, not fine. There's
you wait.
Right? There's
Give them a call and then leave.
Yeah, like if you're like, hey, we're gonna go out on a date. And meet me at the restaurant at 7 o'clock, and it's 9 o'clock, time for you to go home. Like, it's just time for you to go home. Right.
Back to the high spren.
Oh, and they're bonded to high spren, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're bonded to high spren. High
yeah.
spren are very interesting as well.
They are very interesting, and in part because we heard about them in Words of Radiance.
The epilogue.
Yeah.
Even before the epilogue,
before that.
there's a brief line where Syl and I think Calvin are talking, and I mean, I say I think, but I've got the page up here right now. They are talking about breaking out of prison when Kaladin is thrown in jail for doing the most stupid thing of these 3 books. I'm so upset. I'm talking about the arena.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Honor's dead. I'll see what I can do.
I hadn't heard
Beautiful
good stuff.
I love it so much. Anyway, but they're talking about, and Kaladin's like, I might need to break out, but that's against the law. And Syl says, I am no high spren. Laws don't matter. What is right matters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for high spren, the law matters.
The law is what is right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this kind of gets into like some D&D alignments. Where it's like, high spren, lawful good. Honor spren, neutral good.
Well, Skybreaker is just lawful.
Are they
neutral.
lawful good, though?
Yeah.
They're probably... Original, like, back in the day, Skybreakers were probably lawful good. Modern day, more lawful neutral.
Modern day, they're suckers.
I don't know. I think they might be lawful neutral from the get-go.
I'd just like to point out that the Skybreakers, upon the Recreance, literally, like, murdered the remaining Radiants who betrayed their oaths. There was much subterfuge. One, like, attacked all the others who betrayed their oaths. It's in the
Did it say that?
Yeah,
I don't think it says exactly that.
I thought that
I remember
it was
the much. I remember the
There was much
subterfuge.
I think at the expense of the other orders. I think I don't know what it says.
Yeah, what else could that mean?
I think the implication was they maybe agreed or looked like they were agreeing to join the others in what they did in the Recreance, but instead bailed and went into hiding.
I think what you're thinking of, Eric, is I think at one point it kind of references that a lot of the people who a lot of the previous Radiants got killed up real quick, but I don't think it necessarily said the Skybreakers did it. I thought it was the people who took their blades were mad at them for like betraying them.
Let's read what it says.
I don't remember either one.
This act of great villainy went beyond the impotence which had hitherto, so hard to read, been ascribed to the other orders. As the fighting was particularly intense at the time, many attributed this act to a sense of inherent betrayal. And after they withdrew, about 2,000 made assault upon them, destroying much of the membership, but this was only 9 of the 10, as one said they would not abandon their arms and flee, but instead entertained great subterfuge at the expense of the other 9.
See, that reads me like the Skybreakers were hiding, but 2,000 killed a lot of the Windrunners.
Okay.
Or like a lot of the other people.
Yeah, it's like the Skybreakers bailed and left the
Yeah, but what does the subterfuge mean?
I wonder if
they went into hiding.
Yeah.
If this is some kind of reference to an early form of them killing potential surge binders.
It really reads to me like the Skybreakers were part of the group of people being attacked by these 2,000. And then the betrayal and subterfuge was them not staying with their former colleagues.
Yeah, maybe. Sure.
And then just leaving them to be slaughtered
by
all these other people with blades.
That's fair.
Okay, here's how I read it kind of. I think it's just slightly different for me. So it's saying this act of great villainy, like the Recreance, that has been said that the Radiants did. The fighting was really bad during the false isolation at that time, and many of the regular people considered it to be a betrayal.
Yep.
And then so after they ran away, the regular people destroyed them, and the subterfuge was just the Skybreakers like acting like they had also like the Skybreakers pretending like they didn't exist anymore. I don't think the Skybreakers were like
But it says as
misleading
one
other
said
Radiants.
they would not abandon their arms and flee.
Well, that's they wouldn't join in the Recreance.
Yeah.
They would.
I don't see how that contradicts what I'm saying.
it looks like they, as one of the things they did, they deceived the Muggles into thinking that they had also been obliterated, when in fact they went and hung out in like the Pure Lake or whatever.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, it's just subterfuge at the expense of the other 9. That sounds pretty serious. Skybreakers kind of dicks.
Like, they let everyone else die is what they did, like, they didn't protect them.
Fair. That's fair.
Yep.
They didn't enforce the law that says you can't murder people, that I assume existed
you
at
broke
some
that
point.
law, so yeah, get wrecked, guys.
Yeah, you murdered your Spren, we're not helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. That totally makes sense for Skybreakers. That makes 100% of sense.
There is, I said I was split between Elf Scholars and Stone Wards, but there's definitely some Skybreaker in me.
Yeah, you're like, you obviously just wait for your friend to come by. That's the Skybreaker test. If you are a Skybreaker, you wait a long time for your friend to meet you, because that's what you said you do, and it doesn't matter what situations change. You are going to be there until the sun explodes, because you said you were going to do that.
But I feel like that's every order. Like, if you make an oath to meet your friend, you've now sworn an oath.
Well,
I don't think that's every order. I think that's one way the Windrunners and the Skybreakers should be more alike than they think, because the Windrunners say, "I'll be there," and then that's the right thing to do. They said, "I'll be there," but I don't think the Elf Scholars would hang around for 2 hours.
Lift would be the one who doesn't show up. Lift is the friend who doesn't show up.
Yeah. Looks like, I had food to eat. It's like, I got other things to do. I have a different sense of morality than you guys. It's okay. It's not important to me. But yeah, if you're making one of those quizzes to determine what order of Knights Radiant you are, this is the Skybreaker one. Should we talk about the oaths of Skybreakers? Let's talk about
I think we should. Let's pull up the pamphlet
known as the wiki.
So they all have names, which is something that appeals strongly to me as an RPG gamer. I like names. Names are good.
The ideal of justice.
Right. So the first ideal, the ideal of Radiance. Do we think that other orders might also have these
fancy names?
Well, yeah.
I think so.
At one point, probably.
Yeah, they've just been lost.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because ideal of Radiance is definitely something that applies to all of them.
I feel like with Syl, she doesn't care about what they're called, and with Lightweavers, they really don't care because they're very individualistic. So
I bet they didn't have names. Yeah,
probably not Lightweavers, because it. Oh, that's actually one thing to say, that oaths are more individualistic than this says. It's not that you say the same words, right? Like, Tef didn't swear the same third one. It was similar, but it is customized.
There's an idea you have to get across in your oath, but it's your relationship to that idea and your understanding of that idea.
Spiritually, they're all the same. But because they are filtered through your cognitive perception of the spiritual ideal of the ideal.
The ideal of the ideal.
Yes.
That I like. I like that idea.
No, do you like that ideal, or do you like that idea?
That is actually this totally makes sense.
No, I'm making fun of it just because the word idea and ideal just happened a lot really close to that. I totally agree that sounds completely accurate, to be fair.
Yeah, it's like there is this spiritual ideal filtered by cognitive perception.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got the ideal of justice. And I just love that the Skybreakers just said, yeah, here's all the ideals. We don't need to have the mystery, because as a storytelling perspective, it's a little frustrating for Spren to just be, you'll know it when you hear it at a good moment for the story. Like, screw you. Thank you, Skybreakers.
Or the Stormfather who goes, you will either know the words or you will not.
Tough crap, Dalinar. While the Stormfather is very antagonistic.
Theoretically, this isn't any different. It's just yes, here is the idea you have to get across, but it's you still have to get to the point where it's you can internalize that ideal and swear it. just knowing it doesn't necessarily help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Lopin shows later.
Right, yeah,
Not
yeah.
the same.
Well, yeah, and as we get more radiance of these new orders, people are just gonna tell people what the third for the Windrunners are.
Yeah.
But right now, we just don't know them all.
Yeah, like that was in the Gemstone archive thing, right? Like there's that Windrunner who like clearly knows what the fourth oath is, and is like, how am I supposed to say that? You know?
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly. Yep.
Am I not supposed to want to protect people?
Yeah, and like coming to terms with that. Anyway,
And probably every order has their own way of sharing the ideals with new.
Yeah.
It's just
I think
Skybreakers are
that's
very
reasonable.
open and forward with it.
Skybreakers give the pamphlet. You can read the rules. That's fine.
I think all of them may have been like that, or at least most of them may have been like that. And what we see with the Windrunners is just like it's not representative of how the Windrunners were. It's representative of how Syl is, because she is the reestablishment of the Windrunners, and she just wants things to go kind of organic and natural.
Yep. So the second ideal for Skybreakers is the ideal of justice. In the general form, I'll put the law before all else. Okay.
Worth mentioning that one of the divine attributes associated with the Skybreakers is just.
Yep.
And Szeth doesn't swear the exact same one. Third ideal, you dedicate yourself to a greater truth. It's kind of like deciding what is the law. That's kind of the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need these rules, but which rules?
Yeah,
You know?
which law?
Anything that comes out of Dalinar Kholid's mouth.
According to Szeth. For Szeth,
I could use a sandwich right now, and Seth's like, all right, like
that is the law.
Yep. And then there's a really weird one where the Skybreakers have a quest. They get a thing in their quest log, and they must come do that. And then they get the fourth ideal, the ideal of Crusade. And Szeth has picked his to cleanse the shin of false leaders. As long as Dalinar agrees.
Yeah. Can Dalinar just go, oh, I don't want you to do that? And it's like Szeth is clear on the fourth oath and just move on.
To be fair, I think it would be interesting to struggle with that. I do find that interesting.
Mm-hmm. He has to find a way to do it while not contradicting Dalinar.
Yeah. My personal theory for how that will go down is Dalinar will essentially send Szeth as like a diplomat and be like, yeah, don't kill anyone, and be like diplomatic and like make an alliance, and Szeth will have to try to do both essentially.
See,
I love that.
Brandon loves lots of politicking. I can completely see this being the case. I think this is very likely.
That would be kind of fun with Szeth just struggling not to kill all of them, like as
especially with Nightblood saying you should kill everyone. That's actually really funny. That sounds great.
Szeth has been doing a pretty good job at resisting Nightblood's
but when it's
whispering.
Yeah, but when it's actually terrible people as the leader of the Shin, that's interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be rough at the beginning.
You should destroy evil. I agree, they're evil. Well, why aren't you killing them yet? Well, because Dalinar told me not to. Curses.
That's exactly how it's gonna.
That's exactly dialogue from Stormlight 5 right here on the show. Leaked. It's leaked. But there's this interesting thing that you have to complete the quest. So, like, did Szeth swear his oath, or is that oath completed when he's completed the quest?
He has only said the third ideal.
Yeah, I agree.
The Spren satisfaction is what determines the fourth oath. So when Seth Spren decides that he has, successfully completed his fourth oath, I think the bond kind of, not that he'll ever know because the Spren won't tell him, but maybe he'll just get extra powerful one day.
He'll just wake up in Shardplate.
Yeah, right. Oh, great, I did it.
I did it.
So that's another thing in the Skybreaker intro pamphlet about the Spren satisfaction.
Yeah, no, it's the Spren is the quest giver.
Yeah, the Spren is the quest giver.
And so sometimes you
only murdered 9 of the false leaders. You have to murder all 10 and bring the bare asses right here. MMO jokes,
I swear
guys.
to collect 12 bare asses.
MMO jokes. And then the last one Skybreakers swear an oath that will become a personification of law and truth. Great.
The ideal of law.
Yeah.
Nale as the personification of truth.
Yeah.
We should hope not. Yeah.
And this goes back to what we were saying before, where it's like you transcend the law. It's like
Right.
you get to the point where it's like, I know what is right, what should be done. I don't need these external codes to rely on anymore.
That's definitely how it like reads to me as they present it. But the thing that still kind of confuses me is that why the Skybreakers and the Windrunners would get along so poorly if the leadership of the Skybreakers has the ability to literally do what the Windrunners like to do, which is go, oh, I know what the right thing to do is here.
Probably because what the Skybreakers feel should be the case is kind of a different mindset than
That's
what
true.
the Windrunners feel
Yeah.
is right. Like, the Skybreakers could do that, but they're just not going to, right?
Yeah, and this goes back to my idea that not every Skybreaker made it to the fifth ideal.
Yeah.
That a lot of the culture of the Skybreakers is focused on the written law, the letter of the law. Whereas, like, the final ideal is more the spirit of the law.
I really like that, and if there was any order that the Spren would not require them to progress to the end, I think Skybreakers is a good candidate for that.
Yeah.
Because, hey, all right, we have this group of Skybreaker leaders, they tell us what the law is, and then the other Skybreakers do that.
Yeah.
Would that cause a bunch of friction with the lower level guys? Because the upper level guys can't give them orders to do anything that would violate the law if they chose to. You know what I mean? Like in any situation. Maybe that's why they.
That's
were
why
that
you
way.
just boss around second ideal Skybreakers. It worked great.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of like people like they swear to a higher level Skybreakers. Like, okay, I'm going to follow that.
Oh
person's
yeah, that's a
law.
good point. Yeah,
It's like a lot of people have been swearing to Nale.
Well, and this,
So it's like,
I don't know if that's indicative of the historical order, but yeah.
It's probably more indicative of the old order than anything that the other new orders are doing, because this order hasn't betrayed their oaths. So
Yeah, but this order also has a crazy herald micromanagement.
Well, that's true. But I think it's reasonable for Skybreakers to, my old wise Obi-Wan, he's great. I'm gonna swear my oath to him. He knows where to go. It's just the Skybreakers are now swearing to Nale, which is not great.
What do you do? Like, what do you do?
Not
when they
everyone
die,
does.
though?
Like,
you know, like if Dalinar dies, what? Like, I don't know how that even works.
Presumably, they need to have a conversation with their Spren about it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that comes up, right?
and it's not necessarily like swearing to do everything that person says. It's like, as in like a servant. It's more like live to like the ideas they espouse. Like, okay, it's like Dalinar is okay with this. Even if Dalinar dies, like Dalinar was still okay with that. He wasn't okay with this other thing.
The
Here's
ideal
what Dalinar would have wanted you to do.
Yeah.
But life is complicated, and you don't always know what other people are going to do after would have done when they're dead.
There's a lot of really interesting
And that's
story
difficulty.
beats. This makes me actually really excited for Skybreakers, because there's so many friction points that could make some really compelling stories, which I'm excited about.
Yep.
Yeah. No part of this process is supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like,
I definitely love. Oh, sorry, Grace. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is making me think that it would be really interesting to see what happens to the Skybreakers now if Nale dies.
Oh yeah,
Because everyone except Szeth, from what it sounds like at the end of Oathbringer, every Skybreaker except Szeth is currently following him. Like,
or they're following. Following
they're-
Nale.
Yeah,
Do
or at
we-
least like
No.
I don't necessarily mean they swore to him, but it seems like Szeth is the only one who chose not to fight with the
Singers.
Voidbringers.
Oh, yeah,
singers,
that is-
like
That is the impression that is given at the end of Oathbringer, yeah.
But it is definitely not the case that all of them have chosen as their third oath to follow
Nale
either
directly.
Nale
Yeah,
or
that's-
somebody who follows Nale.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. I meant they're like on the same side as him still.
Yeah.
Yep.
So technically, he just made that decision, so it's
Yeah.
not every Skybreaker has had the opportunity to make their decision.
That is
But
true.
it's likely that they will side with him.
I wouldn't be surprised like a year later though we're gonna see or if like maybe a handful of Skybreakers were not on board with that.
I mean, I would certainly like that, and that would solve your issue, David. With all the Skybreakers agree with that. Like, I don't think everyone will.
I need one or two to have a brain, and that's it. So
just one or two.
I also think it could be interesting if we see a Skybreaker who, I don't know how well, I'm sure some Spren I think would be okay with this, but a Skybreaker who swore to follow Nale and was like, no, I swore to follow the ancient herald's Nale's ideas.
Ooh,
it goes to the like side anyways. So they're still like, they're following Nale kind of, but they're following like what he represented in the past.
The spiritual ideal of what Nale should be, not what he is now.
The ideal of loopholes in the law.
To be fair, the Skybreakers probably need that. It's like, I rationalized this just with the right loophole to think about.
Oh yeah,
this.
no, they 100% follow loopholes. Like Zeth's thing in the Pure Lake.
Yep.
Or not in the Pure Lake, but when they were doing the dodgeball.
Yeah, their whole
which
test
is in the Pure Lake. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Their whole test was, can you find the loophole?
It was a part of the test.
Yeah. Skybreakers actually very good lawyers. Didn't know if you know this. Very good at finding loopholes. Probably there's some lawyery Skybreakers.
I was gonna combine lawyer and Skybreaker into lawbreaker, and I realized that's not what.
Yeah, that doesn't quite work out.
Skywars.
Yeah, you're almost saying Skyward there, so that doesn't work either.
Yeah, no, this does not work.
Damn it, Brandon.
So, the first surge that they get is gravitation, which they lash. Wow, exciting.
It does look identical to...
It really does. Maybe higher level Skybreakers, it might be a little different. And I like David's idea that Windrunners they own the sky, right? That's Calvin's thing. That maybe the adhesion would give them more control and stuff. But Skybreakers can do that pretty good.
They fly
They can do it well enough to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the basic lashings.
And then they have division. I want to talk about division.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you want to talk about division, Eric, as the math professor. But
I have answered the question about rational functions as to where they're not defined. They're not defined when the denominator is 0. Way too much this week. So division. Oh, first, Nale's gonna come back and just train Zeth. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
How's Odium gonna agree to that?
I don't think Nale has like any problem. Like he doesn't see a conflict of interests in the fact that they are on the opposite sides, and
you're following the laws, and great, good, do that.
Yeah. Well, he has like
you're following your laws.
Yeah, like, and he doesn't have any emotions at all, so he's not like upset about the betrayal. He's just like, I told you, I'd tell you what that was. I'm gonna help you.
Yeah, and like that's actually a trope I really like because it's like a mobster and a cop sitting down for dinner.
Oh, those are all fun. Those scenes are always fun.
Like,
that's totally true. Those scenes are always fun.
Division.
Yes.
According to the Ars Arcanum, written by my other Bay, Chris, division is the surge of destruction and decay.
Great.
Druid's favorite.
Are not very scientific.
Surge.
Great. We have seen destruction. We've seen Mulata use it to burn a pretty design into a wood table.
We have seen that.
Yeah, it's primary use, I think. Yeah.
Decoration. Interior design.
The oath of interior design.
It's basically if the Shard Ruin was a surge. You break things down into
does kind of
smaller
seem
components.
Like
it does.
Yeah, so in our world, so we're probably looking at the destruction of molecular bonds.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
I don't think we're looking at nuclear fission.
Yeah, I agree. Well, maybe high level. I don't know.
Well, if we were, Teravangian's got and everyone's got minutes to live because Mulata's beaming radiation at that table and they're all sitting there.
I almost wonder if like manipulating atomic bonds is more of a not transmutation, transformation.
Probably.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
But then there's tension and there's cohesion.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
That's
I just
the
guess
future us.
Yeah, I guess I just don't feel like I hear what that means, and I'm like, wow, that sounds scary, but like, I don't feel what that means because I don't have a Dustbringer viewpoint using Division or a Skybreaker using Division. Like,
not in a big way.
Like, yeah, it breaks things down, but how does it break things down? I can say that gravitation does this, but the lashings are like very specific, right? So like, what does Division do?
We've seen like the aftermath of it a bit in some of the prelude, and I think in some of Dalinar's visions with like smoking craters and like burning piles of Kremlings.
I don't know if the Kremlings are an indication of Division.
Yeah, that's true.
But Kalak's POV from the prelude definitely says, "Oh,
the Dustbringers did their work well."
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
To go outside of the Cosmere.
Yes.
The Reckoners.
Boo.
The Tensors. Dissolve things into dust. It breaks things down.
That
and it's like the Dustbringers bring on the dust.
To be fair. Yeah. Do we think there would be any, I mean, it's so hard to say. Would there be any difference between the way the Skybreakers use Division versus the Dustbringers, which we will talk about next?
I think Nale says that, doesn't he? Like, this is going to be different for you than the Dustbringers. I thought.
Oh, I think so.
There's always some difference.
Yeah.
Like, baseline level of power, it's like it's the same, but each order gets different specializations. They go on different paths on the upgrade tree.
Yeah, that's right.
The Skybreakers can clearly use spiritual division to divide the innocent from the guilty.
I'm very angry about that because Brandon said, "Oh no, that's not the resonance."
It is not the resonance.
It's we don't know the resonance, right?
Yeah.
We do not know
at all. Yeah.
No, it's not the resonance. It's just an ability that spiritual division could use, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Ian. I'm just I'm 100% with you.
I don't know how accurate that line in the in-world Words of Radiance is.
Yeah, it's like looking back on it now, like, okay, I can understand how this could be interpreted a different way. It's referring to their ability to spark conflict. That's an almost supernatural ability.
Right. I think there could be some spiritual division shenanigans, though, and the Dustbringers are more... we're going to use division in a very physical sense. Like, I think that's possible.
And they probably have a finer control. Like, I don't think Seth could burn the pretty design into the table. Like, I think that's definitely more of a Dustbringer thing.
Yeah, I was wondering if the difference between those two specific orders and this specific surge is more of a scale and control type of thing. So one of them is about the finer sculpting of I can burn a pretty design. I can dig a tunnel through the ground in a very specific shape, in a very specific direction. Whereas the other order is explosions.
Okay, so two things. One, I was wrong. He does not say that it works differently. He just says it's dangerous. And two, just a quick little like rundown from Taravangian about the surge she used division caused objects to degrade, burn, or turn to dust. So that's Taravangian's one sentence description of division.
Yep.
That's just so like, do you need to?
So it's probably like
things?
rust and things would also be part of division.
I could see that.
Sure.
Like, do you have to be physically touching a thing to do to use division?
I would think so.
I would think
he
so.
He does touch the table.
It's like,
I guess that's true.
You need to be touching something to use adhesion.
Yeah.
To lash. Yeah.
Going with what Evgeni said, I don't like that just because I feel like the Dustbringers can make a pretty design and also explode things very well. Which is what the prelude suggests, right?
Fair.
That is crazy that the Dustbringers are the first order name that we know, because it's right in the prelude.
Yeah, I really thought they were Calyx order forever too, because he was like commenting on it, and I was like, oh, that's where they're gonna go.
It's probably just because it's very dramatic, and you see it after the battle's done.
Yeah.
No, I do think that the Skybreakers probably use it in less flashy ways anyways, because they're I mean, I assume making things explode is against the law in most countries.
I don't think there will be that many laws.
Skybreakers are not known for their flashiness, probably.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have like a specific like a lashing, but it's not a lashing, obviously. That
it's an unlashing.
That's a good point, though.
The Dustbringers use for combat or whatever, and the Skybreakers use as like an execution.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds awesome.
I will divide your head from your shoulder.
But it's probably harder to use investiture on a living thing like this. But well, I mean, I guess you can lash.
Yeah, Austin gets away with it though. So
yeah. I guess that's true. Well, we'll talk about it.
Well,
with the stone.
that's because of Unity. She specifically comments on because Dalinar had brought the realms close together, it was much easier to affect.
Yeah, but still in Way of
Kings. Like Way of Kings in the alleyway.
I'm turning a pennant into fire.
A bolt of lightning.
Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, she's just great.
Yeah.
She's just awesome.
Yeah.
I really want to get into the Dustbringers because we're right on that, but I just wanted to say the name Skybreaker is freaking awesome. Just wanted to point that out, that the Order of Skybreakers, that's probably my favorite order name.
And
it's really cool.
Windrunners, very obvious why they're called Windrunners, right? Bondsmiths, now that we've seen a little bit of Dalinar, we can imagine why that is the case. Light movers, yes. Else scholars focus on transportation more than transformation, but yes, you are recalling yourself to somewhere else. Stone wards, the bulky, like the front line, the wards, the mountain that doesn't
the tanks,
the tanks.
The tanks. Yeah.
MMO jokes.
Skybreakers.
So
almost two on the nose.
One thing I just
are weird.
Yeah, that's true in that context.
Gravitation brings them to the sky, and division breaks things.
They break the sky.
It's right on the nose. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. Although it makes me wonder if there's some kind of like, I don't know what it would be.
It's interesting having break in that because their whole thing's about laws, and so maybe the whole division breaking things will kind of parallel.
I'm gonna make a prediction.
Okay,
right now, and I say that Skybreakers have access to lightning.
Well, that'd be really cool.
They can summon the thunder
because
that actually
that is really cool, especially because lightning is because of friction in clouds and stuff, right?
But they don't have
abrasion.
They don't have abrasion.
But because Skybreakers,
that's true.
They're close.
Calling it right now.
Okay.
I like that. I want that to be a thing. Because why else would they be called Skybreakers? Right. You got to do something with sky and breaking it.
Or it's like they have some like thunder power.
Sure.
But I'm really scary sounds.
They can like fly up and burn a cloud, turn it into fire.
Oof.
I don't know.
Because it's like a sonic, like thunder is kind of like a sonic boom in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, thunder.
That's like moving so fast that like you're actually breaking the sky. You're making a vacuum, and the air filling that void makes the thunder or the sonic boom. I don't know. I literally just thought of this. So
we'll hopefully see you next book.
I feel like the Skybreakers are going to have some really interesting application of division. I just have no idea what
division is so broad that I feel like if whatever Brandon wants it to do is like, okay, sure. And combining that. Like I think it
like that's Dalinar learning languages. Like no one would have ever thought of that.
No, exactly. Like, yes, Windrunner adhesion. Learning language with Dalinar. Like, okay, sure. Like, it's not.
I mean, spiritual adhesion. You were connecting with.
Although if Skybreakers use it more in a spiritual sense, maybe not. But I do like the idea of breaking skies in some very literal way. That sounds awesome.
So there was a WOB I wanted to bring up on the Skybreakers a little earlier. It is from FanX 2018. So less than a year ago, fresh from the presses.
Fresh.
Somebody unknown asks, in Stormlight Archive, of all the oaths that you know, which orders would be the hardest to keep? And Brandon says, obviously it's very much about Spren, self-select. If you're going to give them to a random person, then in that case, I'd say Windrunners, but also Skybreakers, which again makes sense because they're very... They seem to be difficult oaths to follow.
They're like rigid and inflexible.
Yeah.
One of those guys that are closer up on the dial to honor and things like that are probably going to be harder to take for random person, yada, 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 whatever.
Yep.
It is interesting to me here that Brandon references the orders that are vertically higher on the surge binding diagram as being closer to honor.
That does seem to be the case.
It is a kind of a popular understanding within the community that the ones up are honor-ish and the ones on the bottom are edge up. I was going to say edge danceries, cultivation-y. Or maybe there's like a slight tilt, right? Because cultivation Spren are they're not exactly on the bottom, and honor Spren are not exactly on top.
Yeah, but they're both on the same half.
They're literally vertical from each other.
Yeah, they're vertical from each other. They're not.
Yeah. But maybe there's still but I found it interesting that Brandon seems to confirm this idea that honors orders are up top, and then by extension cultivations
are also
on
all the male heralds are on the top half, and all the female ones are on the bottom half. And on this chart, there's actually a distinct color difference on the upper edge versus the lower edge.
Which chart is
the Way of Kings?
From you're right. I never even noticed that. Blue versus like the rest red.
Yeah. It's cool. And when that occurred to me that the ones on the bottom are more cultivation-y, more female. The top ones are honor, and all the male heralds are there, and the honor Spren one and the cultivation Spren one are just right across from each other. Oh man, cool stuff.
Yeah, but at the top you have like the yellow and the bronze.
Yeah, but like look at the
border.
Look at
where
the
outside herald's heads are. Like that's what we're looking at.
See where the herald heads are? See how between Skybreakers and Dustbringers there's a gradient.
There's a color shift.
There's a color shift for sure.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're splitting it into halves.
To me, it just looks like something that could be in-world, like.
Yeah, but as we're saying, in-world things could have mirroring something real, right?
Sure, sure. Yeah, the bottom does look much more like grayed out, and
also the fact that
whitish.
5 male heralds in a row and then 5 female, and it's not interspersed. Like that's weird.
Yeah, although I will say it has to be like a little more complicated than that because the Night Watcher is a bondsmith's friend. That's like heavy cultivation, so you know.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
like,
bondsmiths are weird.
That's what I'm just saying. Like, we don't want to read too much into this for people who are like listening and like wanting to make everything perfectly aligned like that because there's some messiness in surge binding.
The reality is messier than.
True.
Okay.
Because like this chart is in world like. People are trying to put the magic into boxes.
Yeah.
This isn't necessarily like
more circle.
a real like this is humanity's attempt at understanding the magic.
Yeah.
Which is the same as with the Allomancy chart and the Ferrigmade chart.
Okay, we gotta talk about Dustbringers. So Dustbringers. Because you know what? Though it would be good to divide the Skybreakers and Dustbringers, but we should talk about the same surge in the same episode, especially when it's one of the weird ones.
I mean, at a certain point, we are going to have to break one surge.
Oh, it's definitely going to be after the Dustbringers. That I can tell you for a fact.
It's also appropriate to do that when we are done with Division.
Yes. Okay. So Dustbringers versus Releasers. This is a thing.
I mean, they said that. I mean, in the text that said the Dustbringers don't like that their name is so similar to Voidbringers. Right. And I think, like, with their powers are so destructive already, they seem like they kind of have a bad reputation probably among the common people. Like, I get wanting that separation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also, if they follow the whole pattern where your dark eyes and your eye color change, they literally have glowing red eyes. So that probably doesn't help with the whole Voidbringer parallel.
That's a really good point, actually.
Like, I understand why they don't like the name, but
that
come
didn't
up with
quite
something
click
that
on me.
fits the pattern of the other order names, not just
right?
releasers.
Yeah, pick a compound word, guys. Like,
Yeah, that's right.
And there's even a word of Brandon where Brandon said, Dustbringers never liked their name and tried hard to get people to use another title for them. And it was that the new name didn't catch on.
Yeah, it's like...
Not very imaginative.
But to be fair, David, glowing red eyes. Yeah, I can see why that would be a problem for an order.
People who also,
this is unfortunate.
It's a perfect storm of a group people would not trust.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I find interesting, kind of in contrast to that, is in the Gemstone Reserve, the two presumably Dustbringer ones we have, because they're rubies, are the two very poetic, like, nostalgic,
that's
ones.
True.
Well,
The two ruby ones are the woman who's like, my husband and children are the gemstones of my life, and then the other one is like, goodbye, sweet sibling.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the only ones. I mean, yes, it is true that the samples we have definitely show people who are more on the gentle side, but we also have the Windrunner who talks about leaping from the tower one last time and falling along the steep. Like, there are...
But that doesn't contradict what Grace is saying, though.
No, it's not. I'm saying they're not the only poets among the...
Absolutely. It just...
Well, I don't think, like, she's saying, like, oh, they're the poets. It's just, like, there is a poetic side to them. It's not like these are, like, just, like, super destructive people.
Yeah, exactly. Which is very interesting. I totally forgot that.
Ash Spren, which is the Radiant Spren that bonds with them, at least currently, we don't know if that was the case before, but at least at the moment, appear to be known for their kind of almost morbid curiosity, where they like to break things down and find out what's inside them.
Oh, right. So we're saying Balat would be a Dustbringer.
Yeah.
Probably.
I see no reason not to.
Yeah.
Ash Spren are also the most terrifying Spren.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Shalon.
Yeah, because it's just like, when they move, their, like, skin dissolves to ash and you see their bones.
Oh, that's awesome.
Reforms. Like, that's just
awesome.
And then it reconstructs back.
I want to be a Dustbringer. Maybe I'd be a Dustbringer.
Just because they're Spren are
you don't
badass.
Choose your order by how cool you think the Spren are.
No, I'm also very destructive, let's be real.
You are ruin, apparently.
I would transform this realm substantially, is what I'm saying.
So we have that going on for them. We have them, they don't like the name Dustbringers for the aforementioned reasons.
Yeah, the Spren, Malata's Spren specifically says, oh, we're releasers. So the Spren even are like, I do not like this.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Well, they don't want their bondmates to be murdered by angry mobs.
It is not as rational as that.
I mean, changing your name will not change your glowing red eyes.
Yeah.
Just saying.
The scariest part still happened.
Yeah.
All the Dustbringers have shades.
Yeah.
Their patron herald is Chana, or Chanarach.
Which we know really basically nothing about, right?
She's really fast.
Was a guard.
Oh.
A guard?
Yeah.
One of her names is the guard.
The guard.
Oh, I must have missed that. Very cool.
Yeah. It is literally just one. You only see it once.
Look, we don't have that much on her, so, you know.
Where it's like, Taln was the bodyguard, but, like, his title was the soldier, I think.
I think so, yeah.
One of his titles.
One of his titles.
Yeah.
We don't really have, like, a lot on Shauna. Like, she's the one that Fleet apparently raced, like back in the day.
Oh, that's right.
Because she's fast. She's also got abrasion, so she should be able to do like the slick stuff like Lift does if it works similarly.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about this because we just talked about the dividing part, but Dustbringers have abrasion as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like for abrasion, friction can break things down as well. That's kind of why erosion happens.
Yeah. I mean,
they're probably on the more increasing friction side
than
of
decreasing friction.
Than
I like that. Yeah.
So theoretically, they should each be able to do both.
I feel like
I just love the idea though of a Dustbringer using friction to or abrasion to decrease the friction and just gliding across the ground, leaving a path of burning earth behind them.
Okay, that's really cool too.
Yeah,
I will say. Okay, that's really awesome.
So the opposite of ice skating, fire skating.
Fire skating.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone would, it would be a Dustbringer. But I don't know. I imagine that there could be some very interesting combos with Division and Abrasion just because of that friction breaking things down aspect. That there could be some really cool stuff there.
Yeah.
But other than that, we really don't know a lot about these guys.
They were the order most likely to be sympathetic to the diagram.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Didn't
obviously the one Dustbringer we have is a member of the diagram.
Didn't I remember various people asking after Words of Radiance ended if Radiance would think what Adolin did murdering Sadius is right, and I think Brandon just name dropped the Dustbringers. It's they'd be cool with
it.
Yeah. And then people just went on a rampage going Adolin for Dustbringer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that does make sense that they would have a different sense of morality to both Skybreakers and Windrunners.
Sure. And we also know that at least the one current Ash Spren is not on the same side as the new orders of Knights Radiant. It's they're no, screw them. They murdered all of our people.
And it was my impression that it's not just Spark who believes that. I think all, or at least most of the Ash Spren are now very much anti... obviously, at least some of them still want to bond with people, but they're very much against the whole Knights Radiant organization and structure and buddy, sunshine and rainbows type of thing.
Other things, Brandon says Spensa from Skyward would be a Dustbringer, if that gives you an idea of some more character, what they could be like,
that's true.
Doesn't he say that
Spensa can sometimes be poetic?
I will stand upon the burning corpses of my enemies.
What is best in life?
We have. There's no clue about Dustbringer oaths.
Their attributes are brave and obedience, which I find the obedient one interesting because Spensa definitely doesn't give that off that impression, but neither does Malada really to me.
I feel like that could mean that when there's a lot of Dustbringers, they are more structured than individualistic, perhaps. But the obedient one's a little weird.
Yeah, without knowing how they interpret obedience.
Yeah.
You can't see how it relates.
I mean,
I can see them being brave and getting into fights and for what they feel should be done, which is kind of what Malada did, really. Hey, I'll cause conflict because I think it's right.
I could see that as hey, I want to go fight this feudal war, but my superior officer says no, that's stupid, do this other thing that will actually have a useful, they're okay, my superior officer gave me an order, I'm going to follow that order. So it's very similar to what the Skybreakers are doing, but it's a different tack on how it is. Same effect, but different reasonings.
We don't have any of Malada's oaths, right?
No.
I think once we get that very first oath, that will tell us a lot more about this.
Yeah.
It might give us kind of context for what the second one might be. Because in a lot of cases, it appears that the second order specific oath is
like a progression.
An extension of the previous one.
A qualification.
Yeah.
Or a qualification, or at least it runs in the same theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's very interesting. And I also want to point out that Dustbringer is actually one of the ones that, of our focus characters for Stormlight Archive, Dustbringer is the least obvious as to who it would be, because...
So there's an important note here.
Yes.
That each book focuses on a specific character, and each book focuses on a specific order.
Yep.
But that person does not have to be a member of that.
And there's the viewpoint that Shalash is going to become a Dustbringer.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it's like that's a possibility, but like not definite. Like
true.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up, that it might be a while before we really see Dustbringer viewpoints.
Although Brandon has confirmed
4.
we're getting another Dustbringer in Stormlight 4, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully one that's a little nicer.
At least one that's not on Taravangian's side.
Yeah,
hopefully one who is very fond of speaking a lot and just monologuing and inner thoughts.
Can you tell us about your oaths? That would be great, Kate.
So it'll be interesting if Malada is the ranking Dustbringer, and Dustbringers are obedient to their superiors. But the new one doesn't necessarily agree with the diagram. Yeah. How that plays out.
Well, I think diagram in there is, well, seeing the conflict of Radiance in the diagram versus out of it, that's a thing I want explored, especially within that same order.
Yeah. I just don't think we need 2 evil orders. They've already got enough things stacked against them.
There are no evil orders.
Okay, well, when the Skybreakers start killing humans, you explain that.
There are evil people in orders, but the order itself is not evil.
I'm sure that will matter to the humans that are driven to extinction.
I mean, the same can be applied to the Stingers
as they stab you. They're like, by the way, I am evil, but the organization I represent is totally neutral.
Let me rephrase what you're saying, David. You're saying orders that are on the side of Odium's forces.
Yeah, I prefer to say evil because I don't like to say that whole phrase, but
just a shorthand.
No, that's what I mean. For anyone who's confused by what I mean when I say evil.
Yep. Anything else to say on Dustbringers?
Brandon says they are not evil, but they're on the edge of evil. So just heads up on that. They did not get
They are chaotic neutral.
Would you? How fine would that edge be? Can we make an abrasion joke about this?
Can you dance on it?
Yes,
you could definitely dance on it.
I think as of right now, Dustbringers are the one I'm most excited to learn more about.
I'm just excited to learn more about these orders that we know so little about. Like, that was the great thing about Skybreakers. It's like, oh, this is cool. Whereas, like, Windrunners is like, yeah, I want to see the 4th and 5th ideal.
But I think, for me, the Dustbringers more so than any other order. Like, I mean, we don't know much about Stone Wards, but we kind of know what they're about. But, like, with Dustbringers, I think is the one where I'm most like, I have a really no idea, like, what their oaths could possibly be and, like, what they're...
That is interesting.
It's like, Dustbringers, like, really helped illustrate that honor doesn't equal good.
Yeah.
True.
Well,
very much true.
For sure.
And neither does cultivation, of course, but...
Yeah.
I think
and
we all have
odium doesn't equal evil.
But they are anti-human killing, so...
One thing that I wanted to bring up that's interesting, and it's probably something that's going to carry into the next episode as well, is whether there are any similarities between the characteristics of the Radiant Spren and the people who bond those Spren and the orders, essentially. And yeah, on one hand, that seems super obvious. But on the other, it's interesting that Ash Spren are just curious and maybe dismissive of people and others, and to what extent that carries to people like Malada, and who is very like devil may cry kind of personality.
So something I just thought of, when like in Ash Spren moods, you get to see the below the surface of the skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can see the bones. So it makes sense that they like to see, okay, what's inside other people. Like, I can very clearly see what's inside of me in other Ashspread, but others, there's things in the way. Their skin is in the way. It doesn't part like it does for us. So it makes sense like why they would be curious.
Oh, okay. Okay. That took me a while to parse what you were saying.
It's
It's
not.
I had a hard time explaining.
That's fair. All right, guys. So we got through 3 orders.
Not 1, not 2, but 3.
I feel like you cursed us in the intro when you said, "Oh, we might only get through 3."
Yeah, you should have said it's 1.
No. I want to set expectations clearly we were not getting through all 10. Hilarious to think that we would get. Yeah, we
But you
knew.
could have said, "Oh, we're going to get through 5 today or 4 today," but no, you said 3.
Did I say 3?
Pretty sure you did.
It might have been a worst case scenario that he.
That was a
brought
worst
up.
case scenario, I think.
No,
I don't remember.
You said 4.
And here we are at the worst case.
I was hoping for 4, but that's fine. We still might be able to get this done in 2 episodes. But you know what? We're talking about the Radiants. That's what we're gonna do. But right now, it's time for Who's That Cosmere Character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace.
Tien.
Tom.
Raise.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Call.
Alright, so you guys, the listeners, send an email to whosthatcosmerecharacter@gmail.com with 5 clues that refer to a character. And I will read the clues aloud one at a time, and our panelists will get a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. This one was sent in by Striker Easy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I know this person.
Yeah, we know Striker. I'm just worried because I recognize their name that it's going to be hard.
Oh, do you recognize it from the Copper Mind?
No, Striker
It's
Easy is on Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Clue 1. This character has a romantic partner.
Shallan.
It is not Shallan.
My chest just constricted.
Cultivation.
It is not Cultivation.
Melan.
It is not Melan.
Deora from Elantris.
It is
What?
not Deora.
Deora.
Keen's wife, yeah.
Was that the wife? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Clue 2.
Mother of Deorn, Kais.
Yeah, okay.
Clue 2. This character is from Roshar.
Oh, okay, well.
I was patting myself on the back for leaving Roshar for one question.
Hasina!
It is not
That was
Tessina.
mine.
You can still guess Liren.
No, I'm going to guess Laral.
It is not
That's good.
Laral.
All right.
I wanted to guess that too, actually.
Look, we gotta get who has romantic relationships on Roshar. It's like, all right, we gotta go through the obvious ones for a bit.
Everyone.
I like how a flashback character I like how a character who appears in Kaladin's flashbacks and like one chapter in OB isn't obvious who's that Cosmere character.
Well,
It
yeah.
isn't obvious. There were a lot of Kaladin flashbacks. Liren and Hasina are memorable characters, okay?
And
Yes,
so
they
is
are.
Laryl. And so is Laryl.
I'm gonna say Ashir.
Oh.
It is
Argent.
not that person.
Okay.
Garanid.
I wanna guess. Oh God,
I'm gonna be pissed if it's Garanid or Liren, just for the record.
That's the problem with couples. We need a gender here so we can pick which half.
Yeah.
To be fair, yeah.
So that wouldn't help us with Dre.
With like Dre. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point actually.
Rue.
Okay, there was a character I wanted to guess, but
Did it spiritually gravitate away from you?
but I can't remember the name, and I don't like that guess anymore. So I'm gonna
Cool
go
story.
with not General Call, but his son, the young Call.
Captain Call. Or which one? There are 3 calls. There's
Really?
Yeah, there are. Ariton Call, and then there's Melaron, something like that. I wrote all these articles, and there's
the one who is being suspected in being a relationship with not the leader, but the princess of
Ysir, I think, right?
Yazir, yeah.
Okay, it is.
Yeah.
Well, that character, that call.
That's Halem Call, I think. Yeah.
It is not that call.
Oh.
That was good though. I like how David's just like, look, I know the 3 calls. I got this down.
Clue 3. This character is one of Kaladin's squires.
Dre.
What did you say?
He said Drehi.
Drehi.
It is Drehi. Why do you say Dre?
Because that's what Brandon says.
Yeah, well, Brandon says
don't like
Skay for Dominion, and that's dumb as hell.
I think this is also based on is based on his friend. So
okay, that's
why
I don't like that there's a random H in there that doesn't get pronounced.
Boyfriend. Yeah.
I see. If I read this, I would have gendered it just to throw people off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This character is male, and throw it off. Yeah.
So the fact that we mentioned Dre and Drew,
right? Yeah. Right, exactly.
Clue 4 was this character was an original member of Bridge 4. And clue 5 is this character went with Kaladin to Kholinar.
See, that you gotta put in there that you should have done this character is male, and you don't even need that 5th clue, right? You need some misdirection. Original member of Bridge 4 and in a relationship is pretty.
They're big.
You got like kids. Rock. You got Pete. There's not a lot of other people that are in relationships that I can think of.
Yeah.
From the original crew.
Yeah.
I think there is one vague reference to a woman that Scar is seeing. That is, I think only ever brought up once, and I ignore because I ship him with Lynn. But
as every sane person should, by the way.
Cool.
This one was sent in by Ventil.
Okay.
Clue 1. This character is male.
All right.
You cursed us, Eric.
Okay,
Emperor
as an
Ashraven.
Is clue 2 this character is Roshar?
What did you guess?
I said Emperor Ashraven.
That is in fact correct.
Oh, really?
That's a 3-point. That's a half-court shot right there. There we go.
Okay, good talk.
I love it when this happens.
Good talk.
This episode's going along anyway. Thanks, David. Easy.
Okay. Clue 2 was this character has a sibling. This character's spouse is dead. This character was dead. And this character is on cell.
I see the misdirection to Kelsier.
Yeah. I like how David's just like, yo, Ashravan, done, nailed it. Yeah, literally, David somehow cannot hear us or talk anymore, but he talked for Emperor Ashravan and just owned it so well. Yeah, I know, he can't hear us anymore. So, you know what that means? FalseHostSymmetry.com for all your news, fun, and theories and discussion that you'd ever want. Join us on our Discord. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. Leave us a review on iTunes, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye. David's out.
Journey before a destination.
Bye.
Oh.